Have you just finished writing your book in Microsoft Word and now you need to format it for Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing? But hiring a professional designer like me or paying for all the software like InDesign and Photoshop is just a little out of your budget? Well, I've put together this set of 4 videos to show how just using Microsoft Word and the free image software that comes with your Mac, you can make a very professional looking book. So stay tuned. My name's Mary Mitchell. I've been a graphic designer for over 30 years. I taught book design and typography at San Francisco's Academy of Art University. But about 20 years ago, when my dad became homeless, I wrote a book about it. I put together these tutorials for all the rest of you out there who have a story to tell, but don't want to spend a lot of money to make a little money. So I hope they help.
We are going to format our template in the same way that one of the big 5 publishers would format it. The first tutorial will be the trickiest because we have to organize our document into sections so that we can determine where the page numbering starts. And there are some pages, like the beginning of a chapter, where we don't want the page number to print. In part 2, we'll format the text so that it works with both an ebook and a print book and works with the table of contents feature. In part 3, we'll use the free image software that comes with your Mac to format your images and show you how to insert them properly. And finally, we'll use KDP's Cover Creator to design a cover that will work with both your print and ebook. Before we begin, you may need these 4 items, and I've placed links to them in the comment section. Placeholder content, which you will insert and manipulate in the template that we're going to make. A printable version of this tutorial, Kindle's free Previewer 3 software, which you will need to see how your document works for an ebook, and Acrobat Reader, which will show us what the book is looking like for print. The resulting Microsoft Word file will work for both an ebook and a print book.
I've got 4 books here, all different sizes. The only one that's even close to 6x9 is this one. But I picked them because they're by the major publishing houses. This is Penguin Books. This one is HarperCollins, or an imprint of HarperCollins. This one's Scribner, and this one's Random House. Now let's talk about the first page. I usually leave it blank, but this one starts with the blurbs, why this is such a great book. This one's blank. This one actually has the title page first, and this one's also blurbs. So I would suggest leaving it blank, and once you get a bunch of blurbs, add those second round. Let's look at the second spread. In this one, they've got a little introduction of characters. This one is just the logo for Scribner. This one is the whole complete title page. And this one's about the author, which I usually put at the end, along with contact information. So anyway, my suggestion is the more traditional, you leave this second page blank, and on this one you put just the title only. Now we're on the third spread. In this one, it's the complete title page. Title, subtitle, author, publisher. Similar with the Stephen King book. This one is just the dedication page, and this one is the plain title page. What I usually do is I leave this back after I've already had that title page, which is like that one. This I leave blank, or sometimes you can do the other books by here, and then you have your complete title page. Okay, now we're getting a little more consistent. On all of these books, the copyright information is on the back side of the complete title page. And then next to that is the dedication. Same thing here. A little different here. You got the copyright page, and then, yeah, that's the same. And the same thing here. Okay, so here we have it. Copyright info, dedication. Next, if you have a table of contents, that's where this fits in. And again, it always starts on the odd page, odd side of the page. So here I have it next to a blank, which is the back side of dedication. Now these 3 books have prologues. So they come next, well, forward, preface, forward, prologue. In this one, the one with the table of contents, it's followed by illustrations, a list of illustrations, and then a prologue. And then you get to chapter 1. It's got a nice illustration on the facing page. And this is, there's no page usually listed on the first page of the chapter. And then you start with page 2. So simplified, you have a table of contents. Then if you have a prologue, you put that in. And then this would be either the overflow of the table of contents or just blank, but the most important thing is that chapter 1 starts on an odd page and becomes page number 1. I'm going to show you one more thing. Would you believe there are actually textbooks about this? So Robert Bringhurst, Poet Laureate of Canada, I believe, wrote one of them. It's called The Elements of Typographic Style. And let's see what he did for this page order. So he starts with his title, simple title page there. Then he has his other books by as the second page. Then he has his complete title page with title, author, publisher. Then he has his copyright information on the back, which he does in 2 columns, and then the dedication, followed by the contents.
Okay, let's try this for ourselves. The first thing we're going to do is make a new document. So you go to File, New Blank Document. And the second thing we're going to do is save it. So save it as a template for 6 by 9 book. And place it in a folder called Book Templates in a safe place. All right, the next thing we want to do is start formatting the book. So go to Format, Document, and you'll see a bunch of margins. And before we change the margin sizes, click Mirror Margins. And what that does is gives you left and right pages, odd and even pages. Okay, for the top margin, we're going to put in page numbers and headers. So leave that at 1 inch. For the bottom, we don't need quite as much room. We need about 3/4 of an inch. So I just use the size 0.88, kind of easy to remember. Right on the inside margin, you want at least a 1/2 inch. So I'm making it just a slight bit bigger by putting 0.55 inches. And then on the outside, you need a little more than that. So I'm making it 0.66 inches. So just like 5/8 of an inch. And I'm taking these sizes from all those books that I showed you. These are Kindle's suggestions, and it varies by page count. So fat books need a wider margin in the center so that you can open the book out and see it. But for a 300-page book, which is a good standard size book, they suggest 0.5. So we're just going a little bigger than that. Okay, so those are the margins. Now you go to Page Setup, and we're going to create the actual book size. So go to US Letter, scroll down to Manage Custom Sizes. Right, we're going to make a new size. So we're going to push the plus here for a new size, and we're going to call it 6 by 9. Now over here, we're going to make that 6 inches wide by 9 inches high. And then because none of the printers print outside the 0.5 inch margin, we're going to change all of these to 0.5 inches. Okay, check it out, we're set. All right, we now have a 6x9 book. Now 6x9 is a really nice size. It's a very common size, and it's also a really good size to work in if you plan on also having an ebook. So I use it for all of my books, but of course you are welcome to make your book any size that you like. Just make sure with Kindle Direct Publishing that it's one of the sizes that they accept. KDP has lots of trim sizes. This is their website, trim size, so if you just Google Kindle Direct Publishing trim size, you'll get this list. And you can see everything from 5 by 8 inches, 8.27 down to 11.69. Anyway, just make sure it fits one of those sizes. Here's our 6 by 9. The next thing we're going to do is put in some placeholder content. So I've given you a text file that has some placeholder text. So copy that and paste it into your book. All right, next you want to make sure that all of this text is set to normal. We're not going to format the text itself until part 2, but there are 2 ways to check if it's in the style called normal. One is at the top of the page, and another is by looking in your formatting palette under styles and seeing that it's normal. If it's not normal, change it to normal by clicking this little sign right here. Okay, all right, now this text corresponds to the order of pages for those books that I showed you already. So the first page is either blank or has blurbs on it, and then what I've done here in parentheses is shown you what style text we're going to use for each of these pages, but that'll be for part 2. Anyway, ignore that part. All right, then the second page is the back of that, it's blank, and then you're going to have the book title all by itself. Then you're going to have the back side of that, which will be blank. Then you're going to have these 4 pages here are your title page. So the book title, the book subtitle, author, and the publisher. On the back side of that, as I showed you, is the copyright page. Then you have the dedication. On the back of that is blank. Then the table of contents, if you have one. The back of that is probably blank. And then you have your first chapter. So those are your chapters. Then these are going to be the different paragraph styles that we're going to use later. So you have a chapter 1 here, and then you have a chapter 2 that's going to start later here, and then you have 1 page for back matter, which is going to be about the author. Okay, so this gives us something to work with. We're going to divide the content of your book into, for now, 4 sections. So the first section is going to be your front matter. That's all these blurbs, title pages, copyright pages, dedication, all this, these first, not that. So everything down to here, the blank behind the table of contents. Section 2 is going to be chapter 1, and that is where your pages are going to start numbering, and always on an odd page. So chapter 1 will be section 2. Chapter 2 will be section 3, and every chapter after that will be its own section. And because we only have 2 chapters in this placeholder text, the last chapter is going to be about the author, which is technically called back matter. It's not really part of your chapter pages. Okay, so we're going to start by creating section breaks. All right, the first thing you want to do is show all your non-printing characters so that you can see what you're doing. So push this little paragraph symbol that's got show written under it. And now you can see these indications. It shows you where there's spaces, it shows you where paragraph returns are, and you're going to need that. And your first thing you're going to do is do a section break between your back matter here and your first chapter. So go to the last one of your back, which is blank or table of contents overflow, and right between the end of the parentheses and this little blue sign, place your cursor. Then go up to Insert and down to Break, and then over to Section Break Odd Page. Now the reason for that is, I think as I mentioned before, you always want your chapter 1 to start on an odd page. Now some people start all their chapters on an odd page, especially if you have a photograph on the opposing side. So that's up to you. Okay, now we have a little bit of extra paragraph there, so we're going to clean up, get rid of that. Okay, so now we have our front matter is section 1 and section 2 is the next chapter. Okay, so now we're going to go down to page 5 and we should find chapter 2. There it is. Okay, now we want to do another section break between chapter 1 and chapter 2. So we're going to place our cursor there at the end of this last word. Keep it nice and clean. Go to Insert, Break, and this time we only need section break next page, because I don't care if chapter 2 is on an odd page. So just put next page. Okay. And I want to clean up these, so I put my cursor there and clean up those 2 extra paragraphs. Okay, so now if we go to 50%, we'll see we have our front matter, we have chapter 1, we have to have chapter 2, and now we just have to give about the author its own page. So let's see if I can just click in here, go down to 150%. All right, so for the last one, section 4, we put our cursor there, Insert, Break, Section Break, next page. There we go. All right, let's clean that up a little bit. All right, the next thing we're going to do is break up all those pages in the front matter into separate pages. But for that, we only use page breaks, not section breaks. So you start with the first page, you place your cursor in, and you go to Insert, Break, Page Break. All right, get rid of that extra paragraph. Do the same thing. When you get to book title, the second book title, the first one's by itself, when you get to the second one, you have book title, subtitle, author, publisher. Those things need to stay on the same page. So for this part, put your cursor here. All right, and then just finish up with the rest of these. All right. Okay, let's look at it at 50%. And everything's got its own page. In the front matter, let's look at the top here. Chapter 1, and then chapter 2, and then we have about the author. The next thing we're going to do is put in our page numbers. And as I mentioned earlier, the page numbering starts on chapter 1, and it's always an odd page. So we have 3 tasks. We need to start the page numbering on page 1, chapter 1. We need to make chapter 1 an odd page, and we need to make sure that there are no page numbers actually on the first page of each chapter. So The page numbering system is all dependent on your sections, and that's why we have to have the sections working first before we can go on to page numbers. So if you go to the chapter 1 page, which is now, let's say, I think it's chapter 11, maybe, page 11, and you go to View, Header and Footer, you'll see the headers and the footers of your pages. Okay, this is part of section 1 here, and this is part of section 2. All right, I want you to see that next to section 2 it says same as previous. That means everything you were to put in the header page here would also show up on your front matter pages, but you don't want that. So we're going to change that. So open your formatting palette, and I'm going to close these styles up so you can see. And there's a header and footer section here. And if you click in the header of the first page of chapter 1, okay, you'll notice that it says link to previous, which corresponds with the same as previous. We don't want section 2 to be linked to section 1. So you're going to unlink that. All right, now you have to do the same thing with your footer. So if you click anywhere in the footer section of section 2, the first page, there you see it says linked again. So you unlink that also. All right, so to add your page number, click anywhere in the header, because we're going to put our page numbers at the top of the page on the outside, and you're going to insert page numbers. Okay, so you want them on the outside. I've already clicked on the top, so we know that that's going to be like that. So we're going to, oh, but we don't want the page number on the first page of the chapter. So you're going to uncheck Show Number on First Page. Now you go to Format, and we want this chapter to start at page 1. So make sure that that's 1. Now for, of course, the chapters after this, succeeding chapters, then you will keep it at continuous from previous section, because you do want the other chapters, of course, to continue with the numbering, but we don't want it to continue from our front matter. So we start with that with 1 and we say OK. Right, so you can see that there are no page numbers on our front matter. Here's our title of chapter heading, no page numbers, yay! And we start with number 2. That's actually going to be an outside page. Here's number 3 with 3. Now, for some reason, it kept the page on the first page of chapter 2. So you can easily fix that by going to View, going back to your header and footer. Okay, click in there, go back to your formatting palette, and you'll see over here you want different first page. So click that. Right, now the 4 disappeared, but the 5 stayed. So that's really good. All right, then we've got 6 and 7. Okay, you're done. Give yourself a pat on the back.
So how did you do? It's a bit detail oriented, isn't it? Well, I can assure you parts 2, 3, and 4 are going to be a lot easier. So stay tuned for part 2, and I'm going to show you how to format the text. Keep writing.
If this was helpful, please click the thumbs up button. You can write questions and suggestions in the comments section. Thanks for watching.